Everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the LGBT plus community. I'm going to talk about a little bit about what it is, some sexual orientations, genders, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of the hate that surrounds it, laws, slurs, stuff like that. So if you tune into any form of media, whether it's social media or watching the news, it's likely you've heard this term before. However, while some of you may be experts, may know a lot about it, may be even a part of the community yourself, know everything head to toe, a lot of people are not as educated about the community that you are, and that's perfectly okay. Everyone didn't know what it was at some point, and it's about learning, not knowing. So today I want to explain a little bit about the basics on what LGBT is and the few things that maybe you didn't know about the community because it's not all flamboyant gay guys wearing pink. So to start things off, I'm going to explain a little bit about the organization LGBT, which stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and in other forms, it also includes queer, intersex, or asexual. And this emphasizes the rights of anyone who isn't cisgender or heterosexual. This doesn't mean there's anything wrong with being cisgender or heterosexual. In case you don't know what those terms mean, heterosexual means you're attracted to the opposite sex, and cisgender means you're the gender that's on your birth certificate. But anyway, now some of you might be thinking, but gays already have a lot of rights. What more could they possibly want? Well, even though the gay marriage law was passed in 2015, there are still anti-transgender laws. And there is a 4 times greater suicide risk for LGBT youth, which is mostly due to slurs, name calling, or just bullying at school or in public. Anyway, going back to that hatred later, let's start talking about what this stuff actually means, because some of it can be very, very confusing. And a lot of people think it doesn't affect them because it's not in their everyday life, but it's still a very important thing to know. So we'll start with sexual orientation, which is how you're attracted to someone sexually. This shouldn't be confused with romantic orientation, which is how you feel about affection, although the two are often similar. The most commonly known sexuality in the LGBT community is probably gay. This term means attracted to the same sex, but it's also an umbrella term to really include anybody under the LGBT spectrum. For women, it's also commonly called lesbian. Which is females sexually attracted to females. Bisexuality is when you're attracted to only 2 genders, which are most commonly men and women. However, it doesn't matter which 2 genders you are attracted to. Being bisexual doesn't always mean a split between the 2 genders. Sometimes they have days when they prefer boys over girls. And this doesn't mean that they'll cheat on you, or some days they will be attracted to you and some days they won't. Pansexual is pretty similar to bisexual, and it's not in the acronym, but it's really widely known sexuality. Pansexuals have no regards to biological sex, gender, identity, expression, and it doesn't really matter who you are, they prefer personality. This does not mean they are sexually attracted to pans or other kitchen utensils, and they do have standards, so it's not like they're running around dating anyone. Asexual, not to be confused with the plant's way of reproduction, is the A in the longer acronym LGBTQA. People who are asexual don't feel sexual attraction to anyone. Some asexuals have romantic attraction, they just don't feel sexual attraction. This doesn't prevent them from falling into amazing relationships. Lots of cuddles. If you don't feel like you fit into any of these categories, you can always label yourself as queer, which is an umbrella term for anyone who doesn't fit in with the mainstream or doesn't want to label themselves as anything specific. Now we're going to talk about the gender part of LGBT. Although the term is thrown around a lot nowadays, the definition of gender is a person's social and legal status as man or woman. However, gender has evolved over time, and not all people identify with the 2 mainstream genders, male or female. This brings us to the T in LGBT, which stands for transgender. Being transgender means your personal identity and gender do not correspond with your birth sex, which is the sex print on your birth certificate. Transgender is a pretty umbrella term for anyone who doesn't fall into the cisgender male and female cisgender categories. After realizing that they are transgender, some transgenders get major dysphoria, which is extreme distress from sex characteristics matching self-image, although not all transgenders have dysphoria. The ones who do, however, can get estrogen or testosterone or surgery to make themselves feel how they want to feel on the outside and inside. However, some dress the way that they do, matching their birth sex, and it doesn't matter. They're still transgender no matter how they dress. If you know a friend who's transgender and they ask you to use certain pronouns, it's very respectful to them to use their proper pronouns. However, if you know your friend's transgender and they don't ask you to use proper pronouns, there may be a reason for that. For example, maybe they don't want to be outed. It might not be safe for them to come out, or maybe they're just not ready. No matter what, they still have their reasons. Also, if you do happen to mess up on somebody's pronouns, don't make a big deal of it. Just curtly correct yourself, and they'll forgive you. It's okay. Everyone messes up sometimes. However, disliking somebody is no excuse not to use the correct pronouns. Even if you're mad at someone, it's not an excuse to use the pronouns that they asked you not to use. Purposely using someone's pronouns incorrectly is not okay under any circumstance, no matter what. If a person does not fit in with male or female, they can be considered genderqueer, which is an umbrella term for any genders besides male or female. A similar term is non-binary, which is when a person's gender falls between male or female, both male and female, or neither male and female. Gender fluid is also under that spectrum, which means that their gender changes over time. Some days they feel more masculine, some days they feel more feminine. Some days their gender can change throughout the day. It just depends on the person. The last gender we'll talk about in this video is agender. Agenders are either without gender, decide not to label themselves as gender neutral, or not aligning with any specific gender. However, being transgender is often confused with people who are intersex. Intersex is a general term for people whose reproductive system or sexual anatomy doesn't match, or their chromosome patterns don't match. A slight problem in the LGBT community is that intersex problems are treated as transgender issues, which they're not, since intersex is about chromosomes not matching and transgender is about gender identity not matching birth sex. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of sexualities and genders that I didn't include, but we're just going to stick with the basics for now. Now, after hearing all this, some of you might be thinking about how this relates to you, and some of you think, not my problem, not my issue. However, it is your issue, and while some of you are LGBT, some of you are straight, some of you are questioning, we still all live in the same community, and a lot of people who are LGBT feel very unsafe in society, either due to heteros or homos or anyone who is against the LGBT community in general. Now, sometimes this comes from the hate overwhelming the support, and although there is a lot of support, there's also a lot of hate. Some of this is due to people who are uninformed or just don't really know how the LGBT community affects them. Some of this is due to laws, anti-gay, transphobic laws, and some of this is due to slurs or just people who are really homophobic in general. There are a lot of people who believe that this stuff is just plain out wrong. About a year ago, the state I live in, North Carolina, passed a law in HB2, which meant that people who were transgender had to use the bathroom on their birth certificate no matter how far along they were in their transition. Other states have laws similar, if not the exact same law as HB2, although luckily for us, North Carolina repealed this law very recently, and although it's not perfect, it's still a step closer to equality. The next thing I'd like to talk about in this video is the word fag or faggot, because as a high school student, I hear this word on a regular basis, and it is a gay slur, and it is not okay under any circumstance. Now, the reason that this is a gay slur dates back to the Salem witch trials, where people burned people alive for suspicion of being witches. This is the same with homosexuals. If you were suspected of being a homosexual, they did believe that you did not have enough respect to be put on a stick. So you were thrown into the fire with the bundle of sticks, which is where we get our definition of faggot as a bundle of sticks. However, referring to homosexuals being burned is not the bundle of sticks definition that a lot of people justify using the word with. Or another common anti-gay saying is saying that's gay to refer to something you don't like. By pointing that as gay being a synonym to something you don't like, you're implying that you don't like gays, which you can see the problem there. Some people, if you explain that to them, they're very forgiving and they say, okay, I understand. But a lot of people don't see it like that, and that can be an issue. And that's something that needs to stop in today's society, is people not acknowledging the issue of using that as an insult. To finish this up, I'd like to discuss how a lot of people are afraid of being hit on by gay people. I don't really see the problem in that. I mean, if someone thinks you're attractive, that's a compliment, right? But if you really have a problem that much with somebody hitting on you who's gay and they're being gay around you, then just tell them that you're straight and you're not interested, and they'll stop. If you feel uncomfortable with people hitting on you, that's okay. Whether you're in the LGBT community or not, you still deserve the same amount of respect. And you can still support the community even if you're not in it. You don't have to go to a gay pride parade to support the community or respect it. Just be respectful to people no matter who they like or who they are, and it'll all be okay. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and I've put some helpful links in the description below if you want to learn more about this stuff. Bye!